Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bree Buonomo. Hi if you're new here, or hey if you've been here before. And today I am going to be starting a vlog for my querying journey. Today is December 27th. It's a Monday. And I am going to be working on my synopsis during a live stream with two of my wonderful friends. And I want to be able to document like my process of finishing my query letter, finishing my synopsis, and hopefully leading you guys into when I submit my queries to agents. So I don't know how long that's going to take, but today is the start of me getting that goal met. I would like to finish and meet the goal of Querying Prophecy Project. So this is what this vlog is going to be about. So like I said, it's Monday, December 27th, and I'm about to do a live stream with my friends where I'm going to try to get some more of my synopsis done. So I am currently on chapter 10 out of 41. I would like to do, like, I've been pretty much reading through kind of quickly, just getting like the gist of what my chapters are about and like plugging them in as like a rough edit of like, here's like 2 or 3 sentences about each chapter. So that way I can kind of make it prettier and flow better for when I have my synopsis finished. Most synopses are between 1 and 2 pages, so they're pretty quick. But if I can get a couple chapters done and just make my way through it a little bit more, that will be worth it. I've been editing my book a little bit when I see grammar or like spelling mistakes or something like that. I've been editing it as I go along, so it's been taking me a little bit longer, but I'm not really mad about that because ultimately if I can give the cleanest copy of my manuscript possible, that means it'll probably need less work if and when it gets published. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing today. And this is the start of this vlog journey. So thanks for coming along with me. Hi guys, so it is about 2:30 and I have to run. I just finished streaming with Maddie and Diane, but I ended up doing 7 chapters. So I left off on chapter 10. I'm now up to chapter 17, and I'm feeling pretty good about where I'm at with the synopsis. It's definitely very rough, and I know I'm going to have to cut out words because sometimes I'm adding a little bit too much detail and I'm already at like a page and a half and I'm not even halfway through the novel. So I'm trying to be very conscious of how much I'm doing, and I'm trying to end the actual synopsis at 2 pages. I don't want to go over because I don't want to be that person. So I know it's going to need a lot of work and TLC, and I'm going to have to get creative as one does as a writer with the words I use and the way I use them. But for now, our rough draft of the synopsis is moving along. So with that, I am going to meet my dad for lunch, so I'm going to be peacing out. But I'm hoping maybe I'll get a little bit more writing done tonight, and we'll see when I update next. But so far, I mean, 7 chapters within the 2 hours that I streamed for, I think is pretty good. So I think we're on course to finish the at least rough draft of the synopsis this week. And if I could do the rough draft of the synopsis and the query letter this week, then I'm already ahead of my plan. So I'll check in when I do more. Hey friends, it is Friday, December 31st, and I wanted to quickly jump in here to say that I am doing some more of my synopsis for Prophecy Project. So unfortunately, which wasn't really unfortunately, I just worked from home this week and I had a lot that I wanted to do to take advantage of working from home. And I was also doing a training that I was listening to, so that took up quite some time because it was a 2-day training. So I really did have to kind of pay attention, but ultimately I was very productive in other ways this week. Not so productive with my synopsis, but I was able to do some writing in my co-written rom-com. So, I mean, still productive. But today I'm back and I'm going to be on Zara Hoffman's channel doing Twitch writing sprints, and I'm going to try to get through a couple more chapters. So I left up on chapter 17. I'm going to start there and keep doing my read through and see how it goes. So that's where we're at. There are 3 beta readers in this document right now, and I'm very excited about that. It means they're working diligently, and I love that they're anonymous animals and not actually who's in this doc. That's fun. Hi friends, it is Sunday, January 9th. I haven't really updated much in this video because after the first few days that I was filming, I realized that it literally was the same thing. And I could have done a montage, but I just felt like I had other better ideas to do montages in this. So instead of taking up time by doing montages of me just doing the same thing every day, which was reading through my doc and making a synopsis, I just figured I would update you when I was done. And on January 9th, I am done with my drafting, at least, of my synopsis. So I went through and I read through pretty much the entire book again. I really tried to tweak a little bit more and tighten up some things in the document. I tried to grab like one or two sentences from each like chapter in order to get a synopsis. Sometimes that ended up being 3 or 4, and my synopsis is currently 3 pages single spaced, which is way too long. So I'm really going to be working through trying to condense that and make my writing shine through still now. But the hardest part, which was trying to like recapture every single chapter in a short amount of time, is done. So now I can just kind of go through and try to clean that up. I also worked a little bit on the query letter. So I had like a rough draft of the query letter, which I mentioned already, and I was reading through it and it definitely sucked in some ways. I tried to do the query letter as a way of like getting myself into the zone when I was going through my edits. So it was kind of like a guiding, like, okay, let me do the query letter and try to like summarize and capture what my book is going to be about before I edit it. Now that I edited it, I think there's a lot of room for me to grow my query letter. And the things that I was able to do is I just kind of added the things that were going to be like the constants. So like my contact information, my name, and like my like quick bio. And I think I'm pretty good with the quick bio. The biggest thing I'm not sure if it's going to change is the word count. If I end up adding like any more words at all at any point, that might change a little bit, or if I take some away. But I think I'm going to keep the comps that I have. I'm really nervous about the comps because I don't feel like my book quite fits into anything so nicely. So I'm kind of using the elements of other books. Like, so instead of saying that it's like this, I'm using like the element of this from this book and the element of this from this book. And I think that works better for me in this book, but I don't know. Yeah, anyway. I'm also very excited because I do have several beta readers, and as I mentioned, the clip that I just shot is currently, there's 3 beta readers in this, and they're making notes, and they are rock stars. I'm using beta readers very synonymously with critique partners, I will say, because I have essentially my critique partners, they're doing the same thing. They are critiquing my book and also kind of acting as a beta reader because I think this draft is pretty clean. Now, someone can come through and say like, oh, this is a glaring obvious mistake and this like really needs to be changed for the whole structure to be well, but so far that hasn't happened. So my critique partners are kind of doing both double duties right now. And thankfully they pointed out some good things to me that I've been able to tweak. So things like using the same word over and over again. Apparently I really like people leaning. So I was able to go back and try to change that in some ways so that they're not doing the same thing. There was also some like minor inconsistencies where like a certain character doing this or like an action happening that wouldn't really make sense. So like I've been cleaning up that. And I've definitely noticed this time around between me and my readers, my critique partners, they found quite a few spelling errors. So I've been able to kind of catch some of them and then be able to like fix it. So for instance, I have a character named Mercari, and occasionally I would spell her name. So her name's Makaria, and occasionally with maybe just a quick movement of my finger, it would be Makaira. So like when I noticed that, I was able to like find all and replace all, which was nice. So I do think it's overall going to be really clean. It's amazing at like even me going through it, like I would have one critique partner find like a ton of like the same spelling error, but then I would find something that no one else found, and then like someone else that just started reading it is finding something else. So granted, they're not really like editing it, but I'm very grateful that they are finding some of these spelling or grammar mistakes so that way it can just be much cleaner when I query, because obviously the cleaner it is, the more likely I will be able to get this published hopefully sooner. Because if an editor doesn't have to go in and do too many changes, then that's a better look for me. So yeah, that's just kind of my update. I still have definitely some work. It's not going to be the end. Obviously, I have more critique partners and readers going through. I will say too, I have distinct like critique partners. Like I have 4 critique partners and then like 3 legit readers who are just like, they're not writers, they're just consumers, and they're reading it for like the experience of being a reader. So I do have a couple, like I have 2 branches of it, but yeah, overall I'm waiting for some of them to get back to me still, which means that I have some time to try to tackle the synopsis. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not looking forward to it, but when I queried the first time, I did not do a synopsis at all initially, so we only queried people who didn't require a synopsis. And I do think that's short-sighted myself, and it didn't really help. Like I limited who I can query to, so maybe the synopsis isn't going to be the best thing, and I'm not really looking forward to editing it and trying to make it nicer, but at least I can try to summarize that really well, and then I can even maybe get like a critique partner to read it over and just see like once they finish the book how the synopsis summarizes it and if it does a good job. So yeah, that is where I'm at. I'm not gonna babble on too much, but I did just want to say that I am very excited for getting to this and sticking on my timeline. I wanted to query by the end of February, early March, and I think I am well on my way there, considering that I have good solid drafts of both the query letter and the synopsis, and the editing is just what I need. So yeah, but that's where I'm at. I am going to check in when I have some more updates, but hopefully we'll get somewhere soon. Hi everyone, it is Friday, January 14th, and I've made some pretty good progress in my whole querying journey this week. So I did have a very lengthy conversation with my critique partner. Well, I should say one of them, but like the one that really went gung-ho so far, and the only person to really give me feedback up to this point. I found some minor feedback like as people were reading, but I've only had one person complete my read through so far. So that critique partner, I had a very great conversation with yesterday, the 13th, and just kind of clarified some things that, you know, they had questions about and wanted to know more, you know, where maybe I was going to go with this, or like just had some commentary about like the flow of things. A lot of it was very positive, which is great. And the parts where like I could grow and kind of develop more was incredibly great feedback, and I'm really happy with what they provided for me. It's gonna be interesting to see how other people give me feedback as it comes in, because so far I don't think I have anything super in depth to go through and change. Most of it is pretty easy to kind of like space out a little bit of things, change some vocabulary, go through like my use of words. So thankfully it was pretty good. So I had that yesterday, and then I did not do anything as far as writing last night. So I just kind of had that conversation and thought a little bit more about it. So I am here now. I'm done with work, and I have a long weekend because I'm off on Monday. So at least for today, my plan is going to be to do any of those edits that my critique partner pointed out to me. I already did some of them while they were going through the document, but there's a few that I wanted clarification on before I made those decisions. So I am going to do those now. And that really shouldn't take me much time. So I think after I do that, I kind of want to like amp myself up a little bit, I think. So I figured I'm going to start making my query list today. I don't really want to put it off too much because I want to start getting like a pile of agents and do 3 different rounds. So I want to kind of tier rank all of the agents that I want to query, and I'm thinking between 10 to 15 for each query round. And then I want to be able to kind of do, so like let's say if I do 15. So I want to be able to do like high desire, medium desire, and like obviously low desire, but they're still on my list to query. And then I want to take like 5, 5, and 5. So then I have like 5 high, 5 medium, 5 low, and throw them out into the world. And in theory, then, if I could get 45 agents that I'm interested in on my list, I think I should probably start making that list now. I do have some on my mind about who I want to query. One of the big issues that I'm seeing on Twitter when I kind of check in and now and then is that a lot of agents are closing their queries or have closed their queries. So that makes me a little bit nervous. So I might end up having to rearrange some of the people that I want to query because they might not be available currently. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't include them on the list, because I might like strike out in my first round of queries and then I go to query my second round and they're available now. So I'm going to start that list tonight. I have some in mind. I'm also going to use the trick, and I'll share this trick with you, of people. I don't even know where I found this. It might have been like I've done so much research on like querying in the publishing industry. So it could have been a podcast, my readings that I've done, attending conferences, listening to like YouTube videos from authors. Like it could be anything. So I'm not sure where I can credit this, but I did in my research come across someone say that you should think about the books that you want to compare yours to and the authors that you really admire in your genre, and look to see who their agents are. So at the very least, I'm going to do that today, and I'm going to pull books off my shelves and write down who the agent is. And then I'm going to do research to see if they fit what I am trying to sell. So I think it's actually going to take me a little bit of time. And with that, I'm not going to hold this video up too much longer, but I'm going to get to work and we're going to make some progress. Hi guys, it is Saturday, January 15th, and I'm coming back with a quick update, which is probably not going to be that quick because it's me. But I did just want to say that last night on the 14th, I didn't check in, but I did quite a lot of work, I think, for not like going gung-ho on anything, but I did finish all of my critique partners' suggestions, added some more things to the novel in a few parts just to kind of flesh out the scenario a little bit more and make it a little bit more realistic for a conversation. And I am very content with it. I think I was able to bring back some elements that I lost between drafts, and it helped because that was able to give me a little bit more solid reasoning for the character motivation, because it's a messy, like the characters are supposed to be messy in this story, and it's a reflection on how like grief and fear and trauma can hinder and kind of lead our decisions. So the whole idea is like the character doesn't really have solid reasoning, but in the moment this character made these decisions fully believing that they were the best ones. And so I had to try to convey that a little bit better for the novel. So that's what I did, and I think it sounds pretty solid to me. So I'm just going to see if my critique partner has any further suggestions after they read that, and then we'll see how everyone else comes in. I still have, I think, like 5 potential readers. I had 2 that were my beta readers, and I had 3 people that were going to be more like critique partner alpha readers, and I haven't gotten any feedback from anyone. So I'm hoping that they'll get it to me by the end of January, and that way I can really finish and like finalize everything else in February, like the beginning of February. So aside from that, I took a little bit of a break and I treated myself to making a world map. So I've never really made a map before, but I found this site called Incarnate. I will put that in the description. But basically this is my world, and I tried to kind of form boundaries to show stuff. It's really rough. This would never go in my actual novel, but I was trying to just put the visualization in there for anyone that would maybe want it while they're reading it. And obviously I would hope that being traditionally published, I will be able to have a map in my book one day. So basically I put it upon myself to take a side quest by making a map, and I really had fun with it. I mean, it's obviously a rough sketch, but this was like how I pictured the world. So just kind of seeing like how it might look like in a map version. And granted, this is the like free version. So how I would want things to be and like look like probably wouldn't stay this way. if like I bought the actual pro version of this, because there is a lot of tools. So if you are an indie writer, I would maybe suggest using this, especially if you don't want to pay someone to make a map, but you think you could do a pretty good job of yourself. I think this would probably be a great tool for indie fantasy authors to use and have, because once you buy the pro package, you can do like so many different kinds of maps. Like I did a basic fantasy world, but there's like a parchment fantasy world, and then there's like cities, and there's like specific areas. Like you can make maps for anything, and I think that is pretty cool. For what I wanted to use this for, which was just to kind of get a visual for my layout, this worked fine. And I'm happy, and I'm kind of just, I had a good time making it and like talking it over, so I don't think I was wasted time on that. It was just very fun for me. What I spent a little bit more time on was starting to make my query tracker. Now this is the second time I'll be querying. Second time querying new projects. The first time I'm going to be querying Prophecy Project. The last project I did, I have a whole video about what happened there with my co-written project. It was a little bit messy. So this time around, I feel much more secure in the process, and I'm hoping that I will get some more bites this time. I was kind of comparing the query tracker I made to begin with and reading through the stuff that I had, such as, what was the status of all of them? Oh, farm rejections, or didn't even respond to me ever. So I'm hoping that, partial requests at least. Like if I could get a partial, that means I'm starting to get somewhere with this. And I can take that. I mean, ultimately getting a full and then an offer of agency, like that would be amazing. Obviously, that's what my goal is, but I'm hoping that I just get something this round more than I did the first time. I'm hoping I learned from my mistakes last time. So with that in mind, I did pull off my like favorite authors and or like author inspirations, and I am starting to go through like who their agents are. Now, for instance, I'm going to use Brandon Sanderson as an example. I admire Brandon Sanderson so much. I think he's an incredible writer. I may not have read anything from him because his books are huge and they intimidate me, but I will devour anything from his like lectures that he posts on YouTube for free, which is incredible, to the podcast that he does, Writing Excuses. I will eat anything up because I do think he is a like gem in the fantasy world right now. So I looked up his and I tried to kind of get some information about his agency, which I'm glad I did because it's a new agency that I never looked into beforehand. And I don't think his agent particularly, even though the agent is actually accepting queries, which was not what I expected for the president of the company, but I was like, you go. But I don't think I would have jived with him as much. Yet there's two other agents at the agency that might work better. And one in particular, I was kind of like, ooh, I'm thinking you could be it. So that's kind of what I'm using as this, like as an exercise for me, is not just going to the same agents that I already queried once before with another project, but also trying to expand my list. And even if I don't click with the person, or I don't think I would click with the person, that agent's someone that I am an admirer of, I can at least look within their company and see if there is someone I think I would click with. I am trying to find people that I think will work well with my personality, because obviously I think if we're going to have a partnership, it needs to be something and someone that I am going to see myself getting along with well. The second factor that I'm considering is that I not only want to represent this book, but I want to be able to find someone who will also stick behind future projects of mine. So when I'm reading through like what they're looking for and what they don't like, I'm not just considering Prophecy Project. And I'm also considering like what's on my like list that I'm currently working on. I'm currently working on a high fantasy dystopian. I'm currently working on a dark fantasy mermaid story. I'm currently working on an urban fantasy vampire story. Those are all very different things. And I want to make sure that if I am finding someone, they're also going to be willing to represent those books. So I'm trying to keep that in mind. Like that's not going to be the ultimate deciding factor, but I think it's a smart route for me to play, because if someone's going to like my high fantasy concept with Prophecy Project and they also really like urban fantasy, well then I know vampire might be a good candidate for them too. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Now, I will quickly show my query tracker and how I made it and what details I thought were important to me. And maybe you guys can use it too. So I use Google Docs for everything because I think it's just a nice place to keep stuff, especially because you don't have to pay for them. So I use the like it's Google Slot. No, it's, I don't know what it's called. It's like the Google spreadsheet though, Google Sheets. So I use Google Sheets and I try to have the like best things that I think I need to know when I'm querying someone. Okay, so this is on my camera, so it could be a little bit like weird, but this is how it's going to basically look like. I'm going to have 3 rounds, so I have 15 people that I can query each round. Obviously, I split them up between rounds and also have this green thing that's consistent. So what I'm looking at is I want the agent name, the agency, their website, because this will make sure that I can always like just click back and make sure that when I'm querying them, I remember who they are, their email address, requirements. So this is like a vague little bit, but I think it's super important. So different people require different things. So for instance, we have like up here, they have emails, 10 pages include in subject, email first 25 pages, query 5 pages. So this is all the stuff that I am putting down in this requirement section because it can change. So just to make sure that I'm keeping everything the same, I want to make sure that I write that down. Additional info is stuff that I think is kind of to be able to either things that stuck out to me, such as, you know, oh, they will respond to everyone, because that can be important. Not every agent will respond to everyone. So as long as I have some of that information there, this is also the section that I would be able to write things that will help me personalize. So this might be like, oh, this person said they really want like a fantasy world that reflects our own. And that's kind of what I'm writing. So that would be something that I want to put in there. So when I'm personalizing it, I can refer to that. Date query sent. Obviously, this is probably going to be, well, because I have 3 rounds, like this is going to change for each round, but for each round, they're going to be the same. So if I say January 15th, I'm going to do round 1, well, then I can keep that. So that way too, I kind of know, because sometimes people don't respond for months after. So I might finish round 1 and already be on round 2, but that's where I keep track in the status section. So like I might be on round 2 and I might say like, oh, on February like 26th, I sent round 2. But then like up here in, you know, the first one would be like, oh, you know, we got, you know, no response until now. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. Now, some of the information that was, you know, up there, I'm not showing for a reason because it is old. I was just going to go back and see if any of those agents would still apply to me, because initially I was querying as a young adult novel and this was for a different story. And I decided I'm no longer going to query young adult because I don't think I write young adults. I kind of had to really look at it. I do think the story Prophecy Project is what we would call crossover potential, meaning that adults would read it and enjoy it, but some older young adults might also enjoy it. It might be a good bridge for them when they're leaving young adult and entering the adult category. So I am querying it as a crossover potential, but yeah, that's my So there you have it. That is how I am trying to organize the queries I'm sending. Now, there might be something else that I think along the way that I might add into this, but I think from my first round, that's the exact information that I needed. And I don't think, for me, I need to put anything else in this spreadsheet. It's already a pretty big spreadsheet, so I want to make sure that I can always come back and look at it. But that has been what I've been doing with my time. So the next step that I'm going to take is I'm going to obviously try to figure out the 45 agents that I would like to query. Again, remember, I'm trying to do 15, 15, and 15, so it's not going to be all at once. But I do want to try to find at least the first 15, but I think trying to find the 45 will give me a good edge, because then I can kind of, again, split it into tiers, like high tier, mid tier, low tier, as far as who I think would work well with me and who I would really want. So this would be like, you know, high tier would be my dream agents. Mid tier would be like the ones that are like super solid and I would absolutely love to work with. And then the low tier would be people who I think are probably good agents. Maybe they're a little bit newer. Maybe it's a gamble. Maybe they're not exactly looking for what I write, but maybe they also are interested in some things that I might be writing. So like, that's kind of what I mean by those tiers. It's not shade. It's just how I'm trying to manage all of them. So there's that. So I'm going to finish that list. I really need to edit the synopsis, and I'm putting that off because it's going to be a lot of work. And then I think I'm going to read through my query letter one more time, and then I'm going to post it on Reddit. So Reddit I've done this before, and honestly, it really was useful. But the people on Reddit are super blunt, and if you're like me and you over critique people's words, then you think they're just coming at your throat every time. And that's how I feel on Reddit, because, you know, I'm sensitive, but I'm sensitive to the point where I think they're like hounding me, but a lot of people do offer really good critiques. So I will leave like the subreddit that I use, which is pub tips, and people will kind of comment on like, you know, your query letter. And it's people who are like agented authors, it's agents, it's editors. There's a lot of mixed people in that subreddit, and it's so helpful for getting feedback, especially if like you're like me and I am the only one of my writer friends that is really querying right now. Like, I know I've talked to a couple people that have been looking into querying or are about to query. So I'm not quite alone, but from the people I immediately talk to, they're not here yet. So it is kind of like I'm jumping into this without having other people to bounce advice off of. So I'm going to subject myself to Reddit. But I do think that's going to be worthwhile for me, so I'm going to do it. I mean, it's free advice, essentially. And you can take it or leave it, like anything. You can say, oh, I do think you're right. Or just be like, that kind of sounds a little bit lame and I'm not going to take it. So I'm going to do that. And then we will come back and I will let you know how all that goes. And in theory, that's when I'm going to submit sent on all of my queries. So stay tuned. Who knows? I might come back in a month from now. It might be a week. We don't know. So hopefully it won't be too long. But I'll see you guys soon.